Good afternoon and welcome to the August Ordinary Council meeting. Item 1, acknowledgement. We, Greater Shepparton City Council, acknowledge the Yorta Yorta peoples of the land which now comprises Greater Shepparton. We pay our respect to their tribal elders, we celebrate their continuing culture, and we acknowledge the memory of their ancestors. Item 2, privacy notice. This public meeting is being streamed live via our Facebook page, made available for public access on our website along with the official minutes of this meeting. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, it is assumed that your consent is given in the event that your image is broadcast to the public. It is also assumed that your consent is given to the use and disclosure of any information that you share at the meeting, including personal or sensitive information, to any person who accesses those recorded minutes, and we welcome members in the gallery this afternoon. Item 3, governance principles. Council considers that the recommendations contained in this agenda gives effect to the overarching governance principles stated in section 9(2) of the Local Government Act 2020. These principles are as followed. Councillors, they're listed 1 to 9 on page 6 of the agenda. Item 4, apologies. Councillors, do we have any apologies this afternoon?
Councillor Wickham.
Thank you. Can I have a councillor second that? Thank you, Councillor Schubert. All in favour? Against? Motion carried. Item 5, declaration of conflict of interest. Councillors, do we have any conflicts this afternoon? Good. Item 6, confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. Are any of the minutes contained within the previous meeting opposed? No. Can I have a councillor move that, please? Councillor Spinks.
I'll move that the minutes of the 22nd July 2025 council meeting and the confidential council meeting as circulated be confirmed.
Councillor second that motion, please. All in favour? Motion carried. Item 7, public question time nil received. Councillors over the page, page 8. 8.1, petition for council to address litter in the local government area. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please? Yeah, Councillor Spinks.
I'll move that the council receive and note the petition titled Petition for Council to Address Litter in the Local Government Area in accordance with Governance Rule 83.
Councillor Spinks. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Schubert. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to it?
No, just to recognise that we're accepting it as part of the due process and it will be responded to in time from the organisation.
Thank you, Councillor Spinks. Councillor Schubert, would you like to speak to the motion?
Fine, thank you, Mayor Saleh.
Thank you. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? Councillor Truffle.
Yeah, this is probably one that I noticed reading up on. It was pretty centric to the town area, but we also noticed an influx of rubbish within the boundaries and our recreational reserves and bits and pieces. So it's yeah, it covers a bit more wider spectrum than what it probably actually received as a piece of paperwork. So yeah, so it could be expanded on.
No, very good. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Over the page, item 9.1, Disability Advisory Committee appointment. There is a recommendation. Yes, on one page, page 9. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please? Councillor Spinks.
I will move the recommendation as a motion as it is printed on page 9 of the agenda.
Thank you. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please?
I second that motion, Mayor Saleh.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. So I'm very proud to be the current councillor representative and chair of the Disability Advisory Committee. So this is a very important advisory committee that has been around for quite a while and has very passionate and expert committee members from representing a range of different disabilities, as well as being carers and having business involvement, and really understanding the local, I guess, environment of the disability scene and the way that access and inclusion can be implemented by council. I'd like to, this has been a stellar nomination process. We have had, let me make sure I get it exactly right. We have had 23 expressions of interest, which comprised of 16 community representatives, 3 representatives from the not-for-profit sector and 5 business representatives. Unfortunately, we do not have space on our committee for all of those members, but all of those expressions of interest, but I thank everybody that has put their hand up to be a part of the committee. And as a result of it, we have a full committee coming on board, which I note has some returning members as well as some returning from previous terms, which is very exciting, as well as a whole bunch of new ones. So I would like to wholeheartedly congratulate all of the new advisory committee members, and of course, formally thank the outgoing members, Peter O'Connor, Melinda Piggott, Lucy Sullivan and Danielle Humphreys for their contribution, not only to the committee, but to the work that council does more broadly. These committees are really essential for making sure that we have the direct voice of the people that are impacted by the decisions that we're making. This particular one, we have 4 different advisory committees in the community sector. This one being in regards to disability, but we all know that disability is something that can and most likely will happen to all of us at some point in our lives to some extent. So making sure that we create a community that is accessible for everybody that takes part in our community, and making sure that we create designs and infrastructure that allows everyone to have full opportunity to participate is essential. And this committee goes a long way to providing the voice that is needed to make those decisions correct and clever and good for our community. So congrats to the new committee, and thank you to those who are outgoing. I'll be very excited for our first committee meeting when it occurs.
Thank you, Councillor Spinks. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sally. Just reiterating what Councillor Spinks had said, it is a very large advisory committee. When I looked at it, I thought, oh, mighty, it's such a big group. How can they function there? But the mixture of the community representative, the business representative, and also the service provider, we've got a really good intertwined group of stakeholders right across the board. You know, how great it was that, you know, 23 expressions of interest just shows the solid representation that want to get on this board. A couple of mentions there, Tom Cummins and Daryl Sloan, fantastic to see them on there. And of course, David Harcombe, which I hear from regularly from his real life experiences and advice that he can give. He's now inside the tent, so that's really good. And in terms of that, you know, thank you to the outgoing members who've made a significant contribution in their time.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, page 14, item 9.2, Positive Ageing Advisory Committee appointment. There is a recommendation. Can I have someone put that forward as a motion, please? Councillor Schubert.
Yes, Mayor Sally, I'd like to put a motion as the recommendation as it's detailed on page 14 in the council papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schubert. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Brophy.
Second that motion, Mayor Sally.
Thank you, Councillor Schubert. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I would. Look, it's a wonderful committee, this is a Positive Ageing Committee. And I've got to say, we've recently reviewed our terms of reference, which was very helpful. Again, we've gone out for expressions of interest. We've had a good cross-section of the community. And I would appreciate if I had the opportunity to read out the names. Mary Code, these some are pre-existing, some are new. Mary Code as a community representative, Lauren Wallace, community representative, Jenny Carter, community representative, Heather Murphy, community representative, Jeff Maynard, community, and Wendy Sessions, community, Dr. Henry Nadala, community representative, Jodie Gardner, business representative, and Patricia Hemingway, community group representative. I want to formally acknowledge and thank the outgoing members for their contribution to the Positive Ageing Advisory Committee, and that was John Candy, Cynthia Ortiz-Gorry, Albie De Simone, Gary Gray, Jeanette Doherty, Richard Lilly, and Shannon Firebrace. So thank them very much for their efforts over the last couple of years. With 25% of Greater Shepparton population recognised as older people, and 16% need help due to their disability, I think this is an exceptionally worthwhile committee. I really, really do, and I'm very honoured to be part of the advisory committee. The committee, established in 2011, provides advice, information and feedback on matters relevant to people aged 60 years and over in Greater Shepparton. The terms of the previous committee conclude on the 18th of July 25, with a recruitment campaign for new members commencing on 26th of April 25 and concluding on the 25th of May 25. 9 expressions of interest were received, comprising of 70 community representatives, 1 representative from the business sector and 1 representative from a community group, which is great. So a very, very good cross-section. I'm very pleased to move the motion. I'm very pleased that we've now got the new people appointed to the Positive Ageing Committee. So it's an upwards. Thank you, Mayor Saley.
Councillor Schubert. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Saley. It's not just the Ageing Advisory Committee, it's the Positive Ageing. I've been fortunate enough to have been on one of this committee up until late last year, and it's a terrific committee. Certainly welcoming the new members that are on there, and delighted to see that Mary Code's still there. Certainly a significant contributor, not only to this committee, but to a number of other community forums across there, and has led the way on this particular committee on a number of occasions. Certainly with Jeff as well. The outgoing ones, and I know that Councillor Schubert mentioned John, Cynthia, Albie, Gary, Jeanette, Richard being the community representatives, and Shannon being the community group representative. They've been absolutely outstanding, and their leadership over the journey, particularly the last 2 or 3 years, where there's been some significant things in regards to elder abuse, in regards to seniors month and week, and the contributions that they've put in has just been enormous. So look forward to the new members taking up that helm, but it's a terrifically named Positive Ageing Advisory Committee, and I wish them all the best.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Any other councillors like to speak against the motion? Councillors like to speak for the motion? No, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Page 19, item 9.3, early years service provision and Aqua Moves occasional care. Councillors, there is a recommendation. Can I have someone put that forward as a motion, please?
I'll move that the council postpone the decision to close the service until public consultation can be undertaken.
All right, councillor, obviously a different motion to what is in front of us there. Would a councillor like to second that motion, please? If I don't get a seconder, the motion will lapse, which lapses what's in front of us.
Put a foreshadow motion.
Can't do that until I need a motion tabled. I'll give someone else an opportunity to second the motion. Thank you, councillor Spinks. Councillor Summer, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, but first, could I just make an alteration to the motion because I didn't specify what the service was?
Yeah. Do you have a copy of what you're?
No, I'd have to just read it out.
Again, so I can understand what you're.
That the council
Yeah.
postpone the decision to close the Aqua Moves occasional care service until public consultation can be undertaken.
Yeah. And what's the alteration that you want to put?
I didn't say Aqua Moves occasional care.
That's fine. Okay. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. There's a number of anomalies in the report that we're basing the decision on. For instance, whilst it is true that the creche suffered damage during the floods, I don't accept that's any reason to close the service, because if flood damage was a serious concern, we wouldn't be considering repurposing it with more gym equipment. The report shows utilisation rates from 2015, and on page 22, it's sat at 84 active children per day, and that was in 2015. And then it jumps to 2019 with significantly lower attendance. But what the report doesn't say is that the federal subsidy was removed before. And rather than take on the financial burden, council shifted that burden onto the consumer. Predictably, higher fees meant less people could use the service. And what the report also fails to mention is that this creche closed in 2023, which was immediately after the impact of COVID lockdowns and the devastating flood event, and that undoubtedly impacted visitation. Our population is larger now and arguably more in need, so I have no doubt that a concerted marketing campaign could get those numbers back up and drive Aqua Moves membership. The creche looked after young children and infants aged 6 weeks to 5 years, and the report mentions redirecting this focus to more vulnerable children, but many young parents are vulnerable and they're more isolated and time poor than ever before, and infants cannot be left alone. Obesity in adults and children is at epidemic levels, along with diabetes, heart disease and other chronic conditions that come from that. This creche is a brilliant upstream initiative that prevents people from becoming more vulnerable. Having to take kids to another facility before going to the gym is just another barrier. It stops people looking after themselves by getting fit and reintegrating with society. The organisation seems to think reduced hours will not be feasible for someone to take the position. But the reality is that people with young children can't work full 8-hour shifts. It even says in the report itself that there is a general preference for part-time work. Staff are often attracted to working hours that align with school hours, and that many educators are seeking work-life balance and maybe managing caring responsibilities and or considering a transition to retirement. So it actually supports that. So this is an opportunity to offer flexible hours during school times that cater for a lot of people. For a very modest sum, we can offer more employment, quality childcare and a healthier community. If we vote this down, we don't get another chance. Given the creche has been closed since 2023, there is zero harm in postponing this decision to take a closer look. I understand this is a big agenda and it's likely a closed creche service is not high on everybody's priority list, but co-locating childcare at gyms makes perfect sense. It may seem like a small thing, but the Aquamoves creche can quite literally improve quality of life, even increase life expectancy. So if there's any lingering doubt at all, please join me in continuing this discussion. I do believe it needs more scrutiny before we close it down.
Thank you, councillor Summer. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
Ms Ali, can I please put forward a foreshadowed motion?
No problem. I'll come to that pending the outcome of this. Thank you. Councillor Brophy. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? No. Seeing that no one has spoken for or against, no right to reply. We will now go to the vote regarding that motion that was tabled by councillor Summer. So all those in favour? Against?
Division, please, Mr.
So all those in favour of the motion that councillor Summer put forward, councillor Summer. Councillor Summer, all those against? Councillor Schubert, councillor Spinks, councillor Sali, councillor Akers, councillor Truffle, are you against that motion? Yeah, councillor Truffle. Motion lost. Now brings me to the foreshadowed motion, councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Sali. As per on page 19 of the agenda, I'd like to put forward the recommendation that the council approve the permanent closure of the Aquamoves Occasional Care Service.
Thank you, councillor Brophy. Can I, councillor, second that motion?
I'll second that, Mayor Sali.
Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sali. Look, it's you never want to see a service be discontinued or closed permanently. However, sometimes the rationalisation of the decision has to be in factor with a number of different factors. Primarily, in this particular case, is the decline of the patronage of the service. And with less utilisation of that, therefore less income equals then more subsidy from the council to keep it going, then it becomes a real economic factor in regards to that. We are a local government and we're not private enterprise, where if we were, it would probably have been closed some time ago if we were a private enterprise. Staffing, qualified staffing is so hard to obtain. There is an employment, and particularly qualified, shortage in the early childhood sector. And certainly with some shocking situations that have been publicised recently, it doesn't make it any easier to recruit staff to that particular sector. It is so difficult. It's in a lot of cases, the demand is there in some areas, particularly long day care, certain kids' gardens, etc. But there's just not enough qualified staff to get in there. So sometimes you're robbing Peter to pay Paul in order to be able to cover those particular services and provide the service to the mums and dads out there with the little ones. I think probably maybe a solid review of the early childhood involvement and engagement across the sector, particularly in Greater Shepparton, will no doubt point out how the community can be best serviced, particularly in this particular space. It is a complex area, and I certainly empathise for those parents with kids who haven't got the family support, that they can just drop the kids off and do rely on care, whether it be to go to the gym or to go and have a swim, or whether it is actually, putting bread on the table by actually going to work and having after-school care, etc. So it's a tricky space, but I do understand the rationale, unfortunately, in this particular case.
Councillor Brophy. Councillor Eadie, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Saley. This creche has been closed for almost 2 years now, so I think it's high time we consider closing it permanently. So save the ratepayers a few dollars, even if it is only a small amount.
Thank you, Councillor Eadie. Any councillors like to speak against the motion?
Yes,
Councillor Summer.
I think we could possibly say that the numbers aren't enough without actually looking at the numbers prior to the federal government pulling out the subsidy. It was quite well utilised, and to say that it's been closed, therefore it doesn't matter, is not quite true, because we are still getting emails that include references to this creche and how we should be reopening it. It's Aqua Moves, it's all about health, fitness, it's who we are as a community. We could privatise it, it could be a private thing, but we haven't actually got into that discussion at all. I just don't think, if you're basing the decision on a very small sum, probably less than $50,000 to keep this running, which is a small bucket, a small drop in the bucket when it comes to our billion-dollar empire here, something that helps mums and dads and kids, because if they have access to services, quality service like council actually contributes, their outcomes are better later in life. And even that's mentioned in the report. The report actually reads, it sounds like it's in favour of keeping that creche open, because most of those arguments were very supportive of something like this, and it's such a small thing. But if the will of the council is to go ahead without knowing the figures from before the government subsidy was removed and relying on figures straight after a COVID lockdown and the floods, then so be it. That's democracy.
Thank you, Councillor Summer. Any councillors like to speak for the motion? Councillor Spinks.
I actually agree in principle a lot with Councillor Thomas' points. I don't particularly care that there is a small cost subsidised by council if it meets the need, even of a small few, if that's the reality of our community. I do think creches are great. I once upon a time accessed them with my own kids, and they were a benefit to me. But the larger way that I guess I am looking at this, and I think that it needs to be looked at, is that what we're up against, what we are coming up against as a local government, is the larger sector of childcare and being able to provide adequate childcare provision to the young people of our community, to the children and the families of our community. And we're already struggling to be able to staff the childcares that we do have. We know those numbers are going to increase a lot in the very near future, and we have to make sure that our long daycares, our 3-year-old kinders, our 4-year-old kinders are serviced, resourced properly, that those services are benefiting our kids first and foremost. And there is a reality of this service has been closed for the last nearly 2.5 years, and where it does look like we are taking the 2 staff away from the creche to put into our childcare, they're already in our childcare. So we would actually be taking 2 staff out of our childcares now to reinstate this service. So I think that we're just in a reality that is going to have some really difficult conversations and difficult decisions to make, that mean this sort of service, I don't like the use of this word, but has become a little bit of a luxury of what we can offer to the community from council. But having said that, I would not be in favour of this being removed if there was not also alternative options out there for our community, because the need for respite and the need for this sort of support is real. But there is access to other occasional care services across Greater Shepparton. Though not common, they are available. There is the opportunity to have long daycare where you don't have to leave a kid in there for the full, time that that's available. There's also, Aquamoves has, in response to the closure of the care, implemented child-friendly exercise classes so that the young kids can come along and participate, well, be in the room while the adults participate in exercise classes. I don't think the kids are doing a lot, but
As well.
yeah. So I do hear the concerns from councillor Summer, and most of them I really do agree with, but I just don't, this is one of these difficult decisions where every childcare worker is essential right now, and we need to make sure that we're putting them in the best place to resource our community and provide the greatest benefit to our kids and our families. So I'm supportive of this, and though it does say permanent closure, I always think that if it needs to be opened at some point, you always look holistically at the service you're providing, what does that service need? Permanent just means this occasional care service. So I'm supportive of this change.
Thank you, councillor Spinks. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Before I go to write a reply, councillor Summer, you and I have had good conversations about this, and I actually agree that there needs to be a offering of some sort that can allow parents to take kids and participate in active training and obviously get that health and wellbeing. You won't have to try too hard to convince me in that aspect. Till we started having the conversation, the briefing surrounding this, it was unknown to me that it was even closed. So this is very operational, but I do appreciate Louise and our Director of Community and obviously her team giving us the opportunity to have this discussion. And although it does say permanent closure, I do acknowledge a lot of the points that councillor Spinks has mentioned, that it's not closed forever, and if services are required to be reopened for different reasons, then we take those necessary steps to deliver those key services here. So one thing that sort of allowed me to be accepting of this, despite that it's not always good, is that, yes, acknowledging operationally we would have to pull people out. A lot of the points that councillor Spinks noted, but child-friendly classes are important, and I would hope that the operations that sit in and around Aquamoves continue to expand those offerings and make it a space that parents can bring their kids in a safe way and not participate in gym, as councillor Spinks noted, that a lot of these gymnasiums in and around or fitness centres are providing a space to allow parents to bring their kids, and I'm comfortable with what's been offered at Aquamoves, despite that in a perfect scenario and all the reasons that have been mentioned within the report and what councillor Spinks noted, that we would have additional resources to facilitate this, what could be a possibility. So as it stands now, we're obviously faced with a decision that's in front of us, and the work that goes into presenting these reports to us, and understand that, yes, this is a decision we're making now, and what the future holds and services that may be required in future years, who knows? We can cross that bridge when we get to it. But for now, this is what's in front of us. So I'm supportive of the recommendation with the additional child-friendly the child-friendly classes that sit within Aquamoves is very important and must continue to its fullest capacity. Councillor Brophy, do you have right to reply?
Thank you, Mayor Saley. Just a couple of things. The landscape does change over a period of time, and I think part of that is that, it's alluded to by Councillor Summer, that previously there was a Commonwealth subsidy there. It's no longer there. So therefore, I think the people wouldn't necessarily want to take that up because they haven't got that same safety net in terms of the subsidy there. I think, as I alluded to, a review of looking at the early childhood, that, people's tastes have changed as well. So it may not just be Aquamoves. There may be room at some point for more occasional care for mums and dads down the street that they've got an appointment with an accountant or things like that, so they can actually utilise that service, but they may not have the family support, they may not have other support mechanisms in place, and they actually just need that particular occasional care. So I think, in terms of that, we don't like to see any services closed, but this hasn't been operating for a couple of years now, and so I think from an operational point of view, they've brought it to us so that we can let the public know through this particular forum. Thank you.
Councillor Brophy. Councillors, we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Against?
Decision, please, Mr Mayor.
Very good. Councillors, all those in favour? Councillor Saley, Councillor Brophy, Councillor Spinks, Councillor Eddy, Councillor Schubert, Councillor Akers. Against? Councillor Summer, Councillor Truffle. Motion carried. Councillors, we go to page 26, item 9.4, Greater Shepparton Municipal Recovery and Resilience Plan 2023 to 25 Progress and Achievements. Councillors, there is a recommendation. Can I have someone put that forward as a motion, please? Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Saleh. I'd like to put forward recommendation that council receive and note the progress report on implementation of the Greater Shepparton Municipal Recovery and Resilience Plan 2023-2025 as attached.
Councillor Brophy, can I have Councillor second that motion, please? Have a seconder? Councillor Truffle. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Saleh. Looking at all the agenda items that are in this particular council meeting, this one could have gone unnoticed to somewhat because there are just so many plans and achievements and everything that's actually in this particular meeting. This item is really quite significant, and I think in terms of that, it is a progress report, but it really is under the Victorian emergency management arrangements. The municipal councils were responsible for elements of the emergency planning, the response and the recovery, as well as building the resilience of the community to deal with emergencies and natural disasters. And going through the report, there's been an awful lot done in this particular space. Bearing in mind, can I preface that by saying that there are some people that are still out of their homes from the flood, that have been absolutely devastated with that and are probably still grieving, and so I certainly acknowledge that in taking that into consideration. But this particular report was looking at building the environment, and some of the achievements were about the Lenny Street and Howe Street Maribyrnong Drainage Upgrade Project, part funded by the Disaster Ready Fund, to reduce the impacts of the flash flooding and aid the community recovery there. Remediation completed of 100 kilometres of sealed and 200 kilometres of unsealed council roads due to flooding. The removal of 13,500 tonnes of flood-affected waste received by the council, and certainly community groups. There was a number of other people involved. I'll shout out to the Maribyrnong Football Netball Club, who played a significant role in helping get rid of the waste, particularly in that area of our municipality. Some of the other things that were done were there was over 1,100 visits to the recovery hub that were hosted by council that transitioned to an outreach service involving engagement with local community and network groups. The list is significant in terms of the key achievements that were done there. The natural environment in terms of remediation of the Goulburn Riverbank spillage in partnership with the Goulburn Broken Catchment Management Authority and local government Victoria. Restoration of vegetation in areas as well. The economic impact, we've had the delivery of Big Business Ideas Festival, providing information and support to local businesses. And the list goes on. More importantly, in regards to that, the community emergency management plans and those together for Bumbartha, Maribyrnong, Murchison and Undira. So when this impact hits, there's the immediate aftermath in terms of helping those that need the help there. But there's the ongoing support and there's the ongoing resilience plan to put in place and to basically make us proof ready for disaster in that particular area. And I commend our council and particularly the officers in regards to that, to have been able to put that, and this is a progress report as to what's been done, which could have gone under the radar a little bit, but it has been significant.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Councillor Truffle, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thanks. I think Councillor Brophy actually summed it up pretty well with the pre and then what we went through as far as that goes, but more importantly, some of the aspects as far as the mop-up of the whole operation, so we covered it very well, so thank you.
Very good, Councillor Truffle. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? Just a few comments. Very good response, obviously, in establishing the work that had been undertaken through the Recovery and Resilience Plan. A lot of work has gone in. We're nearly 3 years from that particular disaster that took place. We acknowledge the team's efforts through that period of time. There's an immediate response required, and obviously that comes with a lot of emotion that you faced within our community through that period of time. Yes, a number of the key achievements that have been noted, and they're all the ones that we will continue to see and speak about, but the coordination of bringing people together under those circumstances is what I'm most proud of, and the team do an exceptional job. And dare I say, that foundation that's been established through this work here in the plan is used for other examples of how you can bring community together through challenging times and share that social connection and build that really sort of strong and resilient community that we have always have and will continue to have, but allows you to expand on how you can prepare for when and if we're faced with on those other disasters. And obviously that sits in and amongst the relevant communities that have been noted within this report here. And, you know, we want to acknowledge the great collaboration we've had with ERV and obviously the CEMPS. They're all been very, very good partners we've had from day one. And I'm looking at you, Louise, sorry, because you've been working very hard alongside the good people there. So yeah, I think well done for those that are watching and the work of the organisation, a power of word. You've brought community together, kept them all engaged with what's happening, better prepared as you would expect us to be for when and if we're faced with another challenge. It's sort of odd that you've got to wrap these up, but you've got to wrap them up at some point and put your resources into other important matters and know that you're always going to be better prepared for the work that's been done over this period of time. So well done to all involved. There is no right or reply. Councillors, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried on opposed. Page 35, item 10.1, draft council plan 2025-29. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please?
Thank you, Mayor Sarley. I'd like to put forward the recommendation that the council, one, note that the draft council plan 2025-29 as attached. Two, endorse the release of the draft council plan 2025-29 for public consultation for a period of 2 weeks, commencing on Wednesday the 27th of August 2025 and concluding on Tuesday the 9th of September 2025. And three, note that all submissions received will be considered by council prior to the finalising the council plan 2025-29 adoption at a future council meeting.
Councillor Brophy, can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sarley. Firstly, each council term, a council plan has to be developed as part of the 2020 Local Government Act and is mandated that we have to do that. And we do that obviously for a number of reasons, because not only do we have to do it, but it's a good way of having direction of this particular council term. Secondly, it needs to be pieced together from a number of stakeholders, and that be the community, engagement, and through a number of different levels of that engagement. Council officers have their input as well, but also councillors oversee that and have their imprimatur placed into the particular council plan as well. It is a blueprint to how we see priorities across this council term. A municipal wellbeing and health plan, it does sit alongside that as well. And it's a plan with tangible actions, achievable outcomes, and sets direction. It keeps us financially solid and achieves outcomes for our community. All of our municipality, and not just our community, but all of our municipality, whether it be in Shepparton or whether it be over at Merrigan, all the way through. A lot of the work has gone into this, in producing this particular draft, which will go back out to the public for comment and some input there. Like the budget, it is always a compromise. And I believe that we probably hit the right accord in this particular one. In fact, my view is that this is a better council plan than the previous one that we had in place. I must say that there is a complex table on page 7, which is about as straightforward and easy to read as a tour of a chocolate factory with Willy Wonka. It's very hard to read. But anyway, other than that, but at the least, this document does have strategic outcomes. This is the crux of the plan. It has the priorities, indicators, actions, and it has all the outcomes there. And areas defined such as economy, infrastructure, livability, environment, and our council. So I look forward to going out to the public at that period of time and getting some input back before we can ratify that.
Perfect. Councillor Akers, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mayor Sarley. Yes, look, very happy to endorse this proposed council plan going out for public consultation. As Councillor Brophy's indicated, there's been a lot of input into it from key stakeholders, staff and councillors ourselves, and I think we've got a direction that certainly we're happy to take out to the community and deliver for the next 4-year period.
Thank you, councillor Akers. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Thanks.
Thank you. I never thought a councillor wouldn't support a council plan, which is supposed to be the collaborative effort of all 9 elected representatives to set the priorities they would share for the next 4 years. Yet here we are. This plan is disappointing and I do not support it. And the group knows that because I have not supported it from the first draft form and nothing has changed since then. Now, it's probably not fair to compare in the opposite of what councillor Brophy just said, but after being comparatively spoiled by our last council plan, where we not only made great changes to our local climate impact, which strengthened our sustainability while also reduced costs and increased resilience, we embraced diversity and created more inclusion and opportunities for many different parts of our community, and we progressed a whole bunch of key small and large infrastructure projects, including sporting precincts, an industrial park and essential drainage projects, while we also simultaneously delivered not 1 but 2 years of 0% interest rate increases, got us on the immediate path to a surplus financial position, and supported our community through not only the COVID pandemic, but also our largest flood event in recent history. So I know that a council plan can do great things, and I know that 4 years can pack in a whole lot of good. But this council plan in front of us promises none of that. It is unimaginative, small, and quite frankly, boring. And more than that, it is a plan that focuses on stuff and money, and in my opinion, completely forgets people, which is who we serve and what actually makes a community. In the first instance, a community panel of over 30 community members underwent a deliberative engagement process where they volunteered 3 full days of their time to contribute to the formation of this plan. And their contribution has been essentially ignored from the contents and priorities, and even the mention of their contribution has been shoved to the back of the physical plan. Further, in the past 6 months, we have been presented with what should be shocking data around the CEFA score and the very large state of disadvantage that parts of our community experience, and also the most recent AECD scores, which show that a large number of our kids are starting school vulnerable and underprepared. This should be a huge concern and a huge focus for what we're going to do to fix these issues over the next 4 years, yet these factors barely get a mention. And finally, what you can't see in this document is the amount of effort and energy that was put into actively removing certain parts of our community from this document. The questioning of any diversity statistics and the squishing together of all our minority groups into one single strategic document, the attempted removal of any words like acknowledgement or reconciliation, and even more questioning of the statistics, and the total erosion of any mention of the climate emergency or reducing emissions, and once again, questioning of the statistics. The realities of our community's unique needs and the strength of its diversity have been completely whitewashed in this document, smoothed over to ignore what simply isn't a priority to this new group. And it's a frustrating reality that this will forever more be referred to as our plan, which will of course sound like it includes me, but I want to be clear to the community that I have been able to make very little contribution to this plan. And again, no one at this table should be surprised by that, because I've been very vocal at every step along the way that the priorities and value I bring to this table are not seen in this document. And because of that, I feel that this document forgets and ignores the wants and needs of a whole part of our community, because this draft is not a collaboration, but instead a reflection of the homogenous groupthink that is this new council group. And in my opinion, this means we are not fulfilling our responsibility to represent everyone in our community, and it does not reflect who our community is in 2025. Because this is not the plan of a thriving, growing, diverse and strong regional city. This plan shows no real respect or understanding for the data or community-voiced priorities, and it shows no real interest in the priorities of the state, which very genuinely dismisses our governance principles and risks pushing us even further into political irrelevancy. And if designing the future should be done by the young who will inherit it, what does it mean when the decisions are being made by people who are not the young? What does it mean when the youngest person at the table has not been listened to and is voting against the plan? And what does it mean when most of our young people leave in droves to spend their formative adult years in places with bigger vision, bigger priorities and bigger minds? Probably those questions are something we should care about. So to the community, this is your moment.
You have 2 weeks to share your thoughts on the draft. It may or may not make a difference to the final plan. Only this morning I heard that once the document's, all shiny and put out there, it's probably not going to change much. But if you think this document is missing a priority that you care about, or if you don't feel seen in this plan, this is your small chance to speak up. It will go live for 2 weeks. Please use your voice. Thank you.
Councillor Spinks. Like to speak for the motion? Councillor Summer.
Thank you, Mr. Sally. Not sure if we're reading the same plan here because I thought it was great. There's tangible stuff. It's all, concise. It's target driven. It has come from community. There's stuff in here about recreational vehicle action plans. There's stuff in here about a waste circular economy that somehow has been tacked onto climate change and its impact on health, when waste circular economy has nothing to do with climate change itself, but it's there. It's got CBD revitalisation. I'll read out a couple of those. It says we're going to update the CBD strategy, develop an action plan for the CBD, anchor it around retail, food and events, identify dining zones, laneway activities, public art, encourage evening and weekend activity with lighting and music, connect the CBD with key attractions through signage and trails. But it's not Shepparton centric. I'm reading that out because that's part of my ward, and I must say I really enjoy the cover, Yana Gertie ward right there, so I think that's a really great choice. But it does deal with small towns, it does deal with tourism and built infrastructure and how people feel. At the back it has got exactly what the community told us, and that's over and above our own weekends away where we discuss things as a group, and some things got in and some things did not. So maybe, I'm sorry if people feel like they didn't have any input in here at all, but maybe they just weren't clear enough in what they actually wanted in a tangible sense. It's interesting to me that the weekly median household income for Greater Shepparton is $1,400. I think that should be an eye-opener for a lot of people who potentially don't realise people are doing it tough with the higher rents. And I think it's fantastic. It's probably one of the best council plans that I've had the pleasure of doing. I like how it's set out. I like the fact that I feel like I had some input into it, and I like the fact that I thought we all collaborated quite well. So I support it.
Councillor Summer. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Truffle.
Yep. I'd like to endorse Councillor Summer's comments on that. I thought it was, plan was probably put together by a stronger council from the last one. It's taken the Peter Pan and the Only Jack out of it, and all the fairy dust that was sprinkled on it. So back to realistic sort of stuff that's probably back to where a council should be.
Thank you, councillor Truffle. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion?
Just a comment, Mayor Sarley, I agree with councillor Spinks. I think the direction of the previous council was, when the previous council plan was a successful direction, but obviously the public saw fit to go in a completely different direction with their candidates. So I think that says a lot.
Thank you, councillor Addy. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Schubert.
Yes, look, I'm vehemently opposed to some of the comments made by councillor Spinks. I think this has been a very thorough process. She's had an opportunity to speak her mind on many different occasions, purely and simply because she doesn't get her way against 8 other councillors. No reason to throw us all on the pile. I'm just disappointed with what I've heard today. There's been plenty of opportunity. There's been lots of community consultation. I think Councillor Summer has summed it up quite well. I am very comfortable with the plan that we're going to distribute for consultation, and we'll understand how correct Councillor Spinks's words are by the amount of consultation we get. And I hope I stand corrected, Councillor Spinks. Thank you, Mayor Sarley.
Thank you, councillor Schubert. Council plan. I've been through obviously 2 now in developing one. The first one was an eye-opener and really wanting to, I guess you could make it 100 pages, to be honest, and you sort of give each councillor, sort of 10 pages each or thereabouts, and go and put what you think, because you effectively carry what you believe community are seeking through campaigns and what you stood for through those particular periods of time. And then you come in and obviously there's that deliberative engagement process, which gives you sort of a bit of a lens on as many sections of our community that share input into what happens. Our last council plan was very detailed. For me, I couldn't make assessment against our previous council plan until you start the development of your new council plan. That's just my observation of the experience I've gone through. I didn't know what I didn't know. There was a lot of detail in the previous one. What I want to see personally in a council plan is a council plan and a strategy that sits within it that can be delivered, that our executive are really clear as to what direction the council of the day want to take. There are some really good, strong strategies that sit within it. And the beauty of having different representatives around the table is that you would hope that a lot of that can be considered and put into the council plan. There is a consultation process. We sit in a room and we feed these conversations and comments in, and we develop a draft. We don't know how it's going to sit with community, acknowledging that a lot of the information does come from that deliberative engagement process and the conversations that we've had, and returning councillors share different experiences of what it is that we want to see in it based on previous experiences. I really just encourage community that this is a council plan that is to represent all people of Greater Shepparton. You've got 2 weeks consultation time frame from the 27th of August, obviously tomorrow, to the 9th of September. Share your feedback, get the emails in, let us know what you think, because we don't know what we don't know through this period of time. But I'm comfortable to get this out. It's very clear. And I kept asking exec through this process, is it clear? Can you interpret this? Do you have a clear direction that you feel that this council is undertaking? And the feedback that I was getting, that yes, but this is community's opportunity. If I had the council plan here, I'd be holding it up. What do you want it to look like? What do you want it to say within it? Here's our version of what we think it should look like. We've got to have it endorsed within the next month or two. Let us know what you think over this period of time. Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Saley. I'm in a fortunate position where I'll be able to speak daily to young leaders in our community, students and others, and that, to get their views and their aspirations as to what we see as a community and going forward in a direction. So I'm privileged in that sense that I can bring that on board when we sit down. And I think the benefit of 9 councillors is that we all have different viewpoints, and I think that's a strength, not necessarily a weakness. We have different viewpoints on different things, and that's good. Robust discussion is actually progress, and I think to have that is great. I think I still believe that this particular council plan is a balanced council plan. I believe that I had far less input personally in the previous one than this particular one, but it is a compromise, and it still is a compromise. And I think that if we asked each one of us, there'd probably be other areas that we would like to include, probably some things we'd like to take out, and I'm no different to that. But I think on the balance of it, I think that collectively we've sat down and we've put a plan together that will bring us progress going forward, and we will be not only economically and fiscally responsibly, but we will have humanity and we will have kindness when we go forward. I think that's the people that we are.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Councillors, we will go to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried.
Division.
Councillors, all those in favour? Councillor Saley, Councillor Brophy, Councillor Eddy, Councillor Schubert, Councillor Summer, Councillor Akers, Councillor Truffle. Against? Councillor Spinks. Motion carried. Councillors, page 38, item 10.2, draft 2025-2035 financial plan. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward? Motion, please.
Yes, happy to, that council received the draft 25 to 35 financial plan as attached. 2, endorse the release of the draft 25 to 35 financial plan for public consultation for a period of 2 weeks, commencing Wednesday 27th of August and concluding on Tuesday the 9th of September 2025. And 3, note that all submissions received will be considered by council prior to the finalising the 2025 to 2035 financial plan for adoption at a future council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Akers. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Brophy.
Second that motion, Ms. Harley.
Akers, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mayor Sarley. Well, the report presents council's draft 25 to 35 financial plan prepared in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act. And as a key strategic plan within the integrated planning and reporting framework, the plan guides how the needs and aspirations identified in the community vision and council plan will be sourced while ensuring ongoing financial sustainability. It's been a good process, I think, and I think we're being much more transparent to the community about where we plan to spend our money over the next period of time. And for those in the community that want to have a look, they can go out and see where we've got planned expenditure on infrastructure and on projects over the next 4 years and get some indication as to where we're up to. I think that's a big benefit to community, and that if we've got a project planned for 2028, well, they don't have to come tapping on the door in 2027, for example. They can look into the forward projection of the council in this plan and see where we're up to and what we're planning. That obviously may change, as other priorities come along, but it certainly gives a strong indication of where we're at. We've shown that we've got financial sustainability. We wanted to operate as in a surplus position. I think this is also an important part of the plan at this point in time, because there is a considerable number of infrastructure projects which will be quite considerable for Greater Shepparton going forward, and we need to show that we can manage our finances, which we are doing at the moment, if we want to take on some of these major projects ourselves, if we continue to not be able to resource funding from other sources. So it's all part of a process that we need to show fiscal management and be responsible, and I think the plan is a good start for the next 4 years.
Thank you, Councillor Akers. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Look, thank you, Ms Ali. Again, this is a requirement of council to provide an ongoing 10-year financial plan. The finance team here at Greater Shepparton have done a tremendous job to forecast reasonably accurately our financial position. A fair bit uncertainty goes towards the end of the 10-year plan, as you know, politically, environmentally and financial landscapes can change over that period of time. But assumptions have been made based on historical evidence-based calculations, but not factoring in events that could come up like floods, natural disasters, pandemics, etc. What will be the rates and charges over that period of time? You know, what will be our capital expenditure as we go through that? The cost on materials and labour we've seen escalate in the last few years, and where that's going to go. What other income and grants are we going to receive, and what other investments are we going to be able to put in and draw from? So although this is a bit of a crystal ball somewhat, I believe that this draft that's going out is prudent, it's measured, it's well presented, and it's very well explained. I'm hoping that members of the public who have a real interest in the public financial plans can provide some considered feedback for us.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? I've been doing thank yous all day. It's one of those agendas. One thing that I will say is that going through my last council term and the delivery and obviously expanded briefings that we have on our financial plan and how important it is, I would have to say that the presentations regarding briefings and financials have been the best that I've experienced. Claire, Acting Director at the moment, you and obviously Chris and the expanded team have done an exceptional job in presenting this in a way from me as a returning councillor has been very easy and consistent to be able to understand this and know that it is fluid in a sense that, you know, you don't know what's around the corner. But, you know, we are an extremely financial stable organisation because of decisions that have been made, and knowing that what we have got through over a period of time, and when we've been able to control the controllables and look forward and have that really strong forecast that this is what it looks like, not dismissing some points that Councillor Brophy mentioned there. So there is so much work that goes into this in developing the financial plan. You know, we've got our council plan, we'll be discussing our asset plan as well. They're all relevant and important documents that set a really strong foundation. We are developing that foundation, and that's why this financial plan is really important. And again, we seek community feedback. You've got 2 weeks, obviously, starting tomorrow to share your thoughts around that. Who knows what can be presented to us that may amend that, but it's going to be out for public exhibition for the next 2 weeks, and we encourage your engagement through that process. But a lot of work, sets up a strong foundation. a council in the future will also inherit it, and they obviously have an opportunity to change it, but it allows you to be in a really strong position if you've got clear direction over the course of the period of next few years. So thank you. If there's nothing else, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried on opposed. Page 42, item 10.3, July 2025 monthly financial report. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please?
Happy to do that.
Councillor Akers.
The council note the July 2025 monthly financial report is attached.
You can I have a councillor second that motion? Yes, councillor.
Motion, Mayor Sally.
Councillor Brophy. Councillor Akers, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mayor Sally. I read the July financials, noting I haven't seen the June ones yet, which I've been quite intrigued about. And from the July ones, I can interpret that I anticipate the June ones are going to show a significant surplus for 23-24 year, and it comes out that we've got a $2 million expenditure project carried over to this year, and we've got about $8 million, I think it was, in grants that moved forward into June. But we've got showing a surplus of $93.9 million, and that's because at this point we recognise the rates for the full year coming in, and that'll obviously, we're expecting to decline to a $3.4 million surplus at the end of the year if we stay on budget. So a good position to be in. We've delivered $3.7 million worth of capital works in July, which is a good start. And as I said, that forecast has gone up to 69.14 million, which is a $2.72 million increase with a carry forward project. But at this point in time, I would suggest we're on track.
Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Sally. 1 month down, as councillor Akers alluded to, and you'd expect we'd be pretty much on track, given the fact we only brought down the budget a month earlier. So you would think that we're pretty much on track. There's anomalies there, of course, when we've raised the accounts for the rates to go out. It looks like we're doing super well with 90+ million surplus. It'd be fantastic if that was the case, but it's not. You know, the real budget will come down as the year pans out in the financials, month by month, and when we get to the full year, and hopefully we're still on track.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? For the motion? Now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried on opposed. Item 10.4, complaints policy on page 45. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please? Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Sally. That the recommendation is that council adopt the complaints policy as attached.
Thank you. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Summer. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sally. This policy is now due for periodical review, and the revised policy has been presented with some minor amendments to improve clarity while ensuring it continues to meet the requirements of the Act. It also now incorporates a section in relation to the council's child safety and wellbeing policy, in line with council's obligations under the child safety standards. The policy provides clear direction to members of the community on what constitutes an actual complaint, how a complaint can be lodged, who the complaint should be addressed to, how the complaint can be managed, and the extent, the external review options available to the complainants in the event that they remain dissatisfied with the outcome. So it's really just tidying up and making sure that it's up to date.
Councillor Brophy. Councillor Summer, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
No complaints? Any councillors like to speak against the motion? For the motion? Very good. Councillors will go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried on opposed. Councillors, page 48, item 10.5, contracts awarded under delegation July 2025. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please? Councillor Summer.
Thanks, Mayor Sally. I'll move that the council, 1, notes that no contracts awarded under delegation pursuant to a formal procurement process for the reporting period, and 2, note the request for tender advertisement not yet awarded.
Councillor Summer, can I have a councillor second that motion? Councillor Spinks. Thank you. Councillor Summer, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, we've started off this financial year with a bang. It got pretty quiet before, and now we've got 3 pages, more or less. So it's really great to see that. And this is another good case in point about our capital programs or renewal of our budget being spread around all over Greater Shepparton, not just Shepparton City. We have Toolamba, multi-sport court redevelopment. We have Lenny Street drainage upgrade in Mooroopna. We've got the Greater Shepparton Bike Jump Park concept design, which I know there's a few people in Mooroopna eagerly awaiting that consultation to start. We've got Cosgrove landfill, obviously out at Cosgrove. We've got shared paths in Kyalla, Tachira Park exhibition and events complex events construction. We've even out in Murchison, we've got public toilet replacement, lucky them, and a riverbank garden, amongst other things. So it just shows the diversity of what we deliver and that everyone within Greater Shepparton is valued equally. It's just a balancing act to figure out how to allocate our budget based on need, but this is a very good start for the financial year.
Thank you, Councillor Summer. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
Only to say that we approve a budget and then they get to work, and this is the reflection of that. There's a lot happening over the next few months, so it's
Good, thank you, Councillor Spinks. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Councillors like to speak for the motion?
Just a comment, Sally. Just to say, I think it's a fantastic to see so many projects happening on the western side of the river.
Which river?
I'll say that again.
Sorry?
Where's that?
Where's that?
Very good. A good broad array of jobs taking place. So, councillors, if there's nothing else, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried on opposed. Councillors, page 51, item 10.6, Community Satisfaction Survey 2024 to 2025. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please? Councillor Schubert.
Yes, I move that the council receive and note the Community Satisfaction Survey 2024 to 2025 report as.
Thank you. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Brophy.
Second that motion, Ms. Darling.
Thank you. Councillor Schubert, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I would. Look, Local Government Victoria coordinates and supports the statewide local government community satisfaction survey on behalf of Victorian councils with the 24-25 results just released. I'd like to add the main objectives of the survey are to assess the performance of councils across a range of measures and to seek insight into ways to provide improved or more effective service delivery. The survey measures how the community believes council is performing on a range of measures. I've got to say, the majority of the 24-25 result for the Greater Shepparton City Council are higher than compared with the previous financial year. And getting back to the 2021-2025 council plan identifies themes, strategic objectives, priorities, key projects, initiative actions and measures across the life of the plan. The community satisfaction surveys captures some of these measures. There are also measures on services, facilities and activities that council provide. As I said, the 24-25 full year results compared with 23-24 year results. When comparing those two results, there are 43 indicators with higher scores, 5 are the same, only 7 indicators have lower scores. Although many of these are similar to last year. 5 indicators have decreased by 1 point, 1 indicator lower by 2 points, and 1 indicator lower by 3 points. Very, very good effort in my opinion.
Councillor Schubert. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sarley. Basically for consistency and also for a larger volume of responses and with the surveys that we do, Greater Shepparton City Council have gone with ThinkField, and we have for quite a number of years now, and we've got that level of consistency right through from for many years in terms of being able to measure that against, as opposed to another group that other councils tend to use. And the full year results are in. And you know, some people might sceptically say, well, it's only a small sample, and will it really tell us or provide us any worthwhile tool from the public to provide any feedback on our performances or services and issues, etc. Well, I'm convinced it actually does. It's taken me a while to be convinced on that, but I certainly am. And I think when you look at it, our overall performance is 10 points above other regional centres in Victoria and 11 points across the statewide. And that's fairly significant. It reads well, in fact, that we are in all 17 areas over the regional and statewide, we are ahead. And it's easy to criticise when things aren't going well, but praise should be acknowledged when it does. And it really does start with the CEO, the executive, the managers throughout the organisation, the full-time and part-time staff, and everybody that associated with council to be able to get a performance like this. It's not room for complacency, by all means. In fact, we should be striving for a better performance, and it should be acknowledged where we are in comparison across the board. A specific acknowledgement to the governance team that provide us with the quarterly reports and include all the narratives as well that we get, which is of those that are surveyed, the good, the bad and the indifferent at times that come in regards to that. So well done to them, particularly a shout out to James Nolan, who works so hard in this particular space, and I hope he feels very satisfied with the outcome.
Good, thank you, councillor Brophy. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? Councillor Summer.
Thank you. I do believe these are possibly the best results that I've ever seen. And when about half of councils across Victoria have results that are on decline, these are really excellent. I just want to read this out because it's pretty amazing. Overall performance, 10 points higher than the average of most recent results for regional centres, and 11 points higher when compared with Victorian councils. Apologies if this has already been read out, but it's just so awesome. Overall council direction, 13 points higher than the average of most recent results for Victorian councils, and 11 points higher when compared with regional centres. I remember when I first started, we were quite pleased and content because we were getting around the 50s and 60s. So to actually see some results back that would put us in a B+ or an A is really exciting, and it shows we are on the right direction and the community is pretty happy with us, and I just hope we can maintain that momentum and continue to do our job well.
Very good, thank you, councillor Summer. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Troffel.
Thanks, Mayor Sully, thanks. As a reflection of being a new councillor, I think it's very encouraging, and it just goes to show that we're part of a winning team as far as everyone in the room and all the other people who work within the council. So it's really good to see.
Good. Thank you, councillor Troffel. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried on opposed. Page 55, item 11.1, Shepparton Showgrounds Advisory Committee Terms of Reference. There is a recommendation. Can other councillor put that forward as a motion, please?
I'll move that, Mayor Sully.
Councillor Eddy.
Recommend move that the council adopt the terms of reference for the Shepparton Showgrounds Advisory Committee as attached.
Thank you. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Troffel. Councillor Eddy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, the Shepparton Showgrounds Advisory Committee makes recommendations to council on their procedures, rules, conditions of use, future strategic planning, and proposed capital works which are necessary for the proper management of the Shepparton Showgrounds facility. The terms of reference come under review biannually, and they're up for review at the moment, or being reviewed. There's been a slight change to them with the inclusion of voting rights for sitting councillors on the committee.
Very good. Councillor Troffel, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, right, thanks, yep.
Thank you. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? For the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried on opposed. Page 58, item 11.2, Community Grant Program Outcomes and Major Event Sponsorship 2024/2025. It is over multiple pages, just when you are moving that recommendation as a motion. Can I have someone do that, please? Councillor Schubert.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to move the recommendation on page 58, 59, 60, 61 through to 63. Sorry.
Thank you, councillor Schubert. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Someone. Councillor Schubert, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, Sally, look, I've got to say, when these papers arrived and I saw how many organisations that we'd been associated with or or some way, shape or form donated to or helped them reach some funding and that sort. I was astounded, absolutely astounded. And I've got to say, I was absolutely most impressed. Each year, council offer a range of grant programs that align with the council objectives to support new community projects, events and activities across the municipality, organisations, residents. Each grant program has its own set of guidelines, eligibility requirements and assessment criteria, which are developed and administrated in accordance with council's grant distribution policy. And I've certainly been part of it, and the processes, whilst they're getting a little bit more complicated, are relatively easy to complete. And I understand there's got to be justifications in a lot of those applications because we are spending ratepayers' money. And I'm very, very pleased to see such a comprehensive list and so many people that we've been, as a council, been able to contribute to. So well done.
Councillor Schubert. Councillor Salmon, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. I agree with councillor Schubert that when you see it all laid out this way, it's quite staggering just how many grants we do give out. Usually these are given piece by piece, so to have it run across multiple pages is wow. And it may seem like we're patting ourselves on the back for giving away ratepayer money, but the truth is that these grants do much of our heavy lifting. So we couldn't produce half of what these grants achieve if we had to go to tender and go through all the red tape and for every project. So thank you, community members. They develop the built infrastructure in our community. They build social cohesion in our community. They celebrate on a macro level what community means to them, and each have individual ideas on how to go about it. So I think they're very important, and I'd be supporting them again in the future. But I'll also say these won't awarded today, these won't be awarded today by us. These are for noting as they are operational and awarded by staff. Thanks.
Any councillors like to speak against the motion? For the motion? Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Saley. I'd just like to point out, previous councillors there, that this is about community. And it's about the breadth of what we've got in the community, diversity, culturally, sportingly, the service organisations that have put it in, the small towns, different charities that have come through. And going through the list there, I've added it up, and that doesn't include, obviously, the confidential ones where we'll have memorandum of understanding with different agreements there as well, but well over $400,000. And you think, gee, that's an awful lot of ratepayers' money going out to the community. It is going out to the community, but what we do is that we've got other events that bring so much into the community. So when we're promoting all of these particular things, at the same time, we've got where we just announced earlier this week or last week, the BMX National Championships, which are coming to Greater Shepparton in 2026. And if we look back in 2023, that actually generated within our community $6.5 million, one event. They're here all week, they're staying here, they're eating here, they're shopping here, and they're living in our community for a period of time and investing in that. So when you weigh that up, 6.5 million for one event, and we've got so many other sporting ones and festivals and cultural ones that come here as well, in terms of what we give back to the community here is a small amount, I believe, and I'm going through that. I still have a bit of an issue with the heritage conservation grants. I'm not sure whether I believe that, you know, that is good ratepayer money going back to individual properties to keep the heritage there. I'm not 100% convinced on that one, but the way that's been presented here in terms of noting all of these ones, first time I've seen it all in comprehensive, absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Truffield.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Sally. I was a bit disappointed that Councillor Schubert didn't read it out, actually. But, and relieved at the same time. But yeah, I just got this list too when we went over the last couple of days and had a bit of a look, and like you say, Councillor Brophy, you say a lot of money is spent within the area, but it attracts people outside the area tremendously. So I think money well spent on a lot of those, but I've got to learn what a few of these are all about. So yeah, but it's good, thank you.
Very good. Councillor Truffield. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? No, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, page 76, item 12.1, road management plan. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please?
I'll move
Councillor Summer.
that the council, one, note the feedback of 9 submissions received through the public consultation undertaken from the 23rd of April 2025 to the 23rd of May 2025, and 2, adopt the road management plan as attached.
Thank you. Can I have councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Akers. Councillor Summer, would you like to speak to the motion?
Oh, thank you. I'll read the executive summary, which is rather dry, but it's a rather dry report talking about road management. We've got the road management plan is a document. It describes road assets and vegetation within the road reserves that council is responsible for. It sets inspection intervals and response times, as well as states management systems, which council will implement to ensure that its responsibilities within the Act are met. And it shows that it satisfied council's duty of care to road users. It's required to demonstrate that it has a reasonable regime in place for inspecting the road network, discover defects, and a reasonable regime for planning and implementing repairs to overcome the defects. And so we have updated this document into the new MAV template as per advice from the council's risk team. We've had 9 submissions, and I thank people for taking an interest in the road management plan. And hopefully it sets us on the right direction, pardon the pun.
Thank you very much, councillor Summer. Councillor Akers, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sarley. As Councillor Summer has indicated, the plan clearly indicates our responsibility around looking after our roads, and it gives a clear indication to our residents and ratepayers when we will take action. And I think that's clear, and it's good for residents and it's good for staff to know that when they have to respond. There's been some slight changes to it. I think they're only slight, and we took those out to consultation with a little bit of feedback, and now we present the final plan. But I think it's a good document. It's a good one to look at if you're concerned about roads, and I think, Greater Shepparton City Council cops a lot of flack as a result of the road condition of other governments, and rather than our council. And I think our council does respond pretty well to road issues on our own Shire roads, and I would encourage ratepayers, if they have problems with their road that they think need addressing, then make a phone call to council, and I'm sure we'll get it dealt with. Thank you.
Very good. Akers, any councillors like to speak against the motion? For the motion? Councillors, we will go. Those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, page 80, item 12.2, draft asset plan and draft asset management policy. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please? Councillor Summer.
Thank you. I'll move that the council, 1, note the draft asset plan and the draft asset management policy as attached. 2, endorse the release of the draft asset plan and the draft asset management policy for public consultation for a period of 2 weeks, commencing on Wednesday, the 22nd of August 2025 and concluding on Tuesday, 9th of September 2025. And 3, note that all submissions received will be considered by council prior to finalising the asset plan and asset management policy for adoption at a future council meeting.
Someone can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Brophy.
Second that motion, Ms. Sarley.
Councillor Summer, speak to the motion.
Oh, thank you. This is, we're in the part of the agenda now that I was referring to that was rather large and onerous, and these are so important. I didn't mean to sound blasé with the road plan, because obviously roads are one of the things that...
Just picking himself up off the...
Yeah, roads are one of the things people contact us about the most, and it is a super important asset, and this just follows on from that. It's how we manage our assets, it's how we prioritise our assets, and hopefully people could come back with some really good feedback. There was one point raised about whether we're required to complete retrospective works to meet changing regulations as they arise, and how we can avoid unintentional neglect of some assets that don't require upgrades or renewal. That is entirely up to us. So that might be something that the public would like to comment on. For instance, there's no requirements for girls' change rooms in sporting facilities, but as regulations and social expectations change, how do we go back and decide whether or not that is a priority now? Disability access, all those things that could be retrospectively built into what we already have, which would be super expensive, but over time, maybe staggered as a strategy, we might be able to fill those gaps. That's just a suggestion, it's not necessarily in the asset plan right now, but that's an example of what the community might want to comment on if they weren't making a submission.
Thank you, councillor Sumner. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Saleh. Another draft plan to go out to the public consultation with the council plan, the financial 10-year plan. Now we've got the draft asset plan and the draft asset management policy out there, and could be others coming up. These are legislated and they have to be done. And I bet that, look, it's really not open to the public engagement for a very long period of time, mostly 2 weeks. And that seems a very short window to actually respond, all going out simultaneously at the same time. But however, I think if it was any longer, I doubt that you'd receive any further submissions if it was 3 weeks or 4 weeks. I think the 2 weeks is probably adequate in that sense. This is important to have and maintain a 10-year plan here. We've got $2 billion worth of assets and over 100 services here, and we've got to make sure that the facilities, the infrastructure and the living assets need to be maintained, upgraded or renewed.
Very good. Thank you, councillor Brophy. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? For the motion? Councillor Schubert.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Saleh. Just to be bit repetitive from councillor Brophy, but I think we need to remember that we manage almost $2 billion of assets, you know, and this plan sort of gives us a roadmap of the future directions we're going to head in. It is for final consultation, and any comments made by the general public will certainly be taken into consideration. So I would certainly encourage people, our ratepayers, if they've got any comments they wish to make, please take this opportunity to do so. But $2 billion, it's a huge figure, and well done to Gary, the director, and his staff for getting us to where we are now.
Very good, councillor Schubert. I echo the comments that have been made around the table, and also just really again want to encourage you to have a look at this plan, both the asset and obviously the management policy as well, that sit together, and obviously provide any feedback if you want to. If not, get your head around obviously what has just been noted, the significant amount of assets that sit on the books here at council. I've thanked our Director of Community, I've thanked our Acting Director of Corporate Services, I must thank our Director of Infrastructure, Gary, sorry Jed. But
We'll get there.
but otherwise, good work, big agenda, big items in here, and these type of ones would get a lot more attention if it wasn't condensed with a number of other really important things. But yeah, I guess the main message here is consultation is underway, and there's 2 weeks to give feedback if you choose to on a number of matters, so please engage with us that way. Nothing else, councillors, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Motion carried unopposed. Councillors, page 84, item 12.3, Kidstown Development. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please? Councillor Eddie.
I'll move that, Mayor Saleh. I move that the council, 1, commence a comprehensive community engagement process to inform the development of a master plan for Kidstown, ensuring future investment and site improvements are guided by community needs and aspirations. And 2, approve a budget allocation of $650,000 excluding GST in the 2025-26 financial year to undertake necessary rehabilitation works at Kidstown in collaboration with relevant stakeholders.
Thank you, councillor Eddie. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Spinks.
I'll second that motion, thank you.
Councillor Spinks. Councillor Eddie, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, I think the community's been waiting with bated breath for a decision on Kidstown. There's been a lot of rumour about relocation and closure, but I'm hoping we can put all that to bed today.
Very good. Short and sharp, how we like it. Very good, councillor Eddie. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
Absolutely. This is incredibly exciting. I have spent my whole life at Kidstown, first as a kid and then with my own kids. And now we get to sit here today and I get to be part of the council that commits to what I hope will be the next 30 years of Kidstown. The most important part, I think, of this motion is that all discussion of Kidstown reaching the end of its life is off the table. This is us committing to the new life of Kidstown, whatever that might look like. And most importantly, what that will look like is going to be forged by community consultation and community engagement. Kidstown is the community's asset. Council, it was created by community, it was literally built by community. They are in the bricks, they are in the wood, they are in, the community is built into every aspect of that asset, and it was handed to council 20 years ago to look after. I don't really know what has happened, what happened between then and now, but we're here today. You know, we know that if you go out there, it's a bit of a sorry sight. She's tired, and she needs some love. And this is us saying we're ready and prepared to give her that and give her a new life, which I'm just so excited to be a part of. Now, this is also our opportunity. You know, it isn't going to be ignored that that is a very culturally significant site out there. There's a lot of considerations. There's a lot of the assets out there, the physical infrastructure being, you know, the mazes and the built form that are no longer safe. They are not safe for our kids to be playing on, and they will have to come down. So a part of that responsibility is going to be making sure we respect the assets that are out there, and we make sure we maintain and preserve as much of that history as we possibly can for everybody who contributed to it. And then we look at what the next version of Kidstown is going to look like. And we do that with the community from day one, which is a part of this motion being moved, that not only are we allocating budget to making the current site safe, making the current site what it needs to be right now for people to keep utilising the space, but also commencing the comprehensive community engagement process, because we know everyone out there wants a say in this. They want to be a part of the process. And Kidstown is fundamental to Greater Shepparton. It's fundamental to Shepparton Mooroopna. It is what connects our two sides of the river, and that's why it absolutely is staying where it is. And we want to make sure that, I think we have no choice. We have to make sure that we do this with the community, and I just can't wait to see what comes from this. It's a really exciting moment, I think, so happy to support it.
Thank you, councillor Spinks. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Councillors like to speak for the motion? Councillor Summit.
Kidstown is a cherished part of our local identity. It features on highway road signs and many family photo albums. And I'm so proud to be part of a council that values this history, and I'm excited to see what can be achieved through community consultation and an allocated budget.
Councillor Summit. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion?
Just very quickly, please, Mayor Sarley. There is no doubt there's there's social implications in our paper state. There's very, very much a connection with Kidstown in this community. It offers something unique that I don't believe any other sort of rural location offers. And I'm very, very pleased that we're prepared to spend the initial 650,000. I hope and pray that there'll be a lot more than that, but we'll wait and see what we get. And again, I would encourage community to get involved in this. We're very good at community consultation. This is an opportunity for community to get involved and tell us what they want and what they need. So,
thank you, councillor Schubert. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Sarley. There is a real romanticism around Kidstown. And it really goes back to its genesis. It was built by the people, for the people. And a lot of philanthropic local orchardists put, you know, they pour their money, their time and their spirit into that particular establishment. And that was 30 years ago. A previous landfill site, a site in a floodway, and certainly alongside some cultural significant lands as well. The intentions were good, they were admirable, and it served its purpose. But with no master plan or renewal, significant maintenance, or the ever-changing risk and compliance legislation, something was going to give, and the floods really pushed that over the edge, unfortunately. A number of the landmark features, which we all remember, are off limits to the public because of safety, and that's so sad. It's now in the hands of council, and we need to decide on what we do with it. It was purpose-built 3 decades ago, but do the kids today want the same play-based adventure and discovery? I really hope so, but I'm not sure, and that is why it is vital that we ask and engage the public as to what they want. I mean, I loved the giant slide and the maze and the amphitheatre and the railway. It was all fantastic. Particularly the railway, I was about the right size for that. In its heyday, it was probably really the must go to take your kids. And it was expensive, it was outdoors, and it really was so good. But I ask, is that the romanticism and not the pure practical economic rationalisation, governance and compliance? I really do hope that the heart wins over the head with the direction of Kidstown here.
If you, the other councillors like to speak to the motion, Councillor Akers.
Thanks, Mayor Sala. Yeah, look, it's really intriguing to see the interest that's still in Kidstown, and I came back from Maroopna the other day, looked out to the left, cars everywhere. The joint's half fallen down, but people still want to go there and engage. And I think, you know, so that there's a story in that for us. There is no other location like that to have a kids' playground. We can't replicate that sort of site for trees or the setting, so it really needs some careful planning about getting it right and building something sustainable. And as others have said, what we need to make sure we get right is understand what kids want going forward, what's going to draw them there. I think it's, you know, let's make it exciting, but I don't have the answers because the kids today don't do what I want to do and mine don't either. So, but let's make sure we understand what is going to make it a site that people are going to want to take their kids to and their kids are going to want to go to for the next 30 years.
Thank you, Councillor Akers. Any other councillors want to speak to the motion? This is a good motion that's in front of us. It obviously reinforces our collective position around how important the asset is of Kidstown, as Councillor Spinks noted, her experience there as a child and now taking her own kids, and that's something that I'm going through as well. I remember clearly as a young child playing out at Kidstown and now taking my own kids. And what we've done is we've actually invested in and around that. We've connected the shared paths there. We've extended it through the Yarnagoody shared path. We want people to come into that particular play space, and it's been noted that, you know, you won't be able to replicate that type of environment elsewhere. As Councillor Eddy said, there's been good community conversation and it was never in doubt. These type of decisions are important to reinforce the strength and what Kidstown does. You mentioned, you know, west side of the river is getting some good projects. This is, and for obvious reasons, there's buildings there that reflected this. This is the connection and good emotional connection to there. This is a good story. When I speak to a lot of young kids, they always ask for a Disneyland. And this is possibly our Disneyland. This is, we're going to build the Kidstown. We're going to connect people. Every child loves playing on good playgrounds, and we've got to build it to obviously put us in that sort of long-standing longevity around infrastructure that we're building. We know it sits in there with a bit of a risk around flooding and other aspects as well. So a really good and important decision that's been made now. This is, you know, reassures its commitment and dare I say, decisions that will be made in future budgets will be around allocation and hearing from community. This is all about consultation and many things that we're putting out. We are going to engage community, going to tell us what they would like to see in this space, engage the young kids, the schools, all the people that live in and around Greater Shepparton. And this will continue to be a meeting point and service the community for many years moving forward. So an exciting announcement and decision that we're making now. If there's nothing else, councillors, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Page 96, item 13, documents for signing and sealing nil received. Item 14.1 on page 97, councillor activities for July 2025. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please? Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Saley. Surprisingly, I'll put that recommendation that council receive and note the summary of the councillors' community interactions and informal meetings of councillors.
Councillor Murphy, can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Spinks.
Second the motion.
Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just mentioning a couple of the activities in that past month that I'd like to bring to the attention. One was certainly we attended a number of councillors the Shepparton Swans sponsored lunch, and to do that and for them, the club, to look across the oval and to see demolition starting over the other side. We're talking about the floods earlier on and the resilience plan and everything that we've put in place, and looking over there and the joy that they could see of a place being demolished, knowing that their new pavilion is going to be built. It's just something fantastic. It's no different when we went to the opening of Life Church, which actually changed their name on that particular night to the Sanctuary over in Marupna. For those that don't recall, it was the previous squash courts there, over there, where they actually finally, after all this time of the floods, they were able to open up their church and bring people back in there again. It was fantastic. So congratulations to the pastor there in Ryan Black and his wife Michelle and the whole executive there. Of course, the Top Tourism Town Awards were held here in Shepparton. We were robbed, unfortunately, Shepparton, but congratulations to the other cities and small towns that won the awards on that particular one. The Rotary Club of Shepparton had their changeover presidential dinner from Wendy Shanks to Josh Freeman, and that was a brilliant night. But I'll just leave you with this particular one, and that was for those who haven't been to any of the GV Stars Carnival, the All Abilities football or the All Abilities with basketball and that. How heartwarming was that? To go along, was out at the Shep East Oval there a few weeks back, and to see the spirit, to see the mateship and the sportsmanship and the kindness. Yes, it was a bit of a competitive nature, but to look out there and in the full-back who'd had a number of kicks, had another, the ball in his possession and decided the full forward who's been playing hadn't got near the ball, handballed it to the full forward to make sure that he got a goal. That's what it's all about. Thank you.
That's right. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion? No, thank you. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? Councillors will go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, page 99, item 15, notice of motion, amendment or rescission or received. Item 16, urgent business not included on the agenda. Councillors, is there any urgent business that has arisen since the finalisation of the agenda?
Oh, yes, Ms. Sarley, I've got some urgent business I'd like to raise.
Can this just wait till the next OCM?
Oh, I don't believe so.
Yeah, what's it relating?
So, last Sunday, VicGrid released the August 25 Victorian Transmission Plan, and this morning we received a briefing from, as a council from VicGrid, and I guess it's the realisation of the potential impact on our region with this new plan increasing, or including most of the area east of Shepparton, which wasn't included in the May release of the plan. I think as a council, it's important that we urgently understand the impact on our region, that we consult with our community and develop a position.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I can accept that to be considered because it has met the relevant governance requirements, but I do need a councillor to second that. If I can have one, so councillor Schubert.
Mayor Sullivan?
Or councillor Schubert, yeah, sorry, because I called in. Councillor Schubert, would you like to second it?
I second the motion, Mayor Sullivan.
Yeah, second the intent for that to meet the requirements for urgent business to be tabled. I will now obviously go to the vote for that to be considered in a formal motion. So councillors all in favour? Motion carried for that to be considered. Councillor Akers, do you have a motion that you would like to take?
I do have a motion. Many will have in front of them that council, one, receive the 25 Victorian Transition Plan August. Two, engage an independent consultant to conduct a detailed review of the Central North Renewable Energy Zone contained within the 2025 Victorian Transmission Plan. Three, consult with Greater Shepparton community to better understand the potential benefits or consequence of this proposal. And four, instruct officers to prepare a submission to VicGrid which is informed by the findings of the consultancy review and the consultation with affected landowners.
Thank you, councillor Akers. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Truffle. Councillor Akers, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Sarley. I mean, we do note the release. It came to a significant surprise to us as a council that a significant portion of the Greater Shepparton had been included as in this plan that was not included in the May release plan. It's probably a bigger shock to the residents of the Dookie and Pine Lodge area that it has been included in this plan with no consultation or indication that it was coming. This area covers obviously what is some of Victoria's highest dryland agricultural output land. And I mean, I think this is something that, you know, as we're under significant pressure with irrigation, those high producing dryland regions within the state of Victoria, and when they happen to be in the Shire of Greater Shepparton, we need to investigate to see whether they should be protected in the ever-changing environment that we're facing. That area of Dookie is well known to have some of the most high-yielding crops and the most consistent yielding crops across the state, and this is obviously a reflection of the consistent rainfall they get out there, and this is something that we just need to get together and make sure that we make a significant submission on. I think it's important that we consult with our community, the landowners at Dookie and surrounds, and the broader community, and develop a position to make sure that we get the best outcome for Greater Shepparton.
Thank you, councillor Akers. Councillor Truffle, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Sally. Just to back up what councillor Akers is saying, with the land use and the high productivity of the area around here, the documentation that came to us that the gold posts have shifted, which is a worry. It's also a worry that comes to us on a really shiny bit of paper that I believe consultation is possibly there to tick a box rather than consult properly with us. So it seems to be so far down the track. Another thing which was brought up in the conversation that we had today was also the use by date of these structures, where they go, do they land within our footprint, or are they taken away, and the rehabilitation of these areas once that use by date is up. So there's quite a few questions and that need to be asked and sort of clarified within this consultation. So above that is probably what councillor Akers is saying is our high productivity to this area, and possibly not a really big wind area either. So you'd be interested to see what comes out of it.
Councillor Truffle, any councillor like to speak against the recommendation, or the motion, I should say? No, any councillors like to speak again?
True.
Oh, you can speak to it.
Make time for that? Yep. Can I, before I start though, can I, point of clarification, I need to just ask a couple of questions. What is the scope of the review going to be? Like, what's the chance of us doing a review and then it coming back and not being sufficient for what we wanted? And, you know, where's the detail around that? What we want it to cover?
Pass through.
I can ask, you through you, and obviously you can seek that clarification. I guess, are you clear enough as to what's sitting in front of you as to what work would be needed to be undertaken, or?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to start and then hand over to Director of Sustainable Development. The review is very much of the initial document that has been used to clarify the land in terms of being identified as a renewable energy zone. So there was an initial document produced by a consultant that has been the basis for informing the decision that has informed the particular Victorian transmission plan. So the review of that document, we're going to interrogate that just to ensure that what is being presented is actually fair and reasonable and accurate. Outside of that, Director of Sustainable Development, do you have anything further to add around that?
Thank you, Fiona. The group have engaged RMCG to do some work on compatibility data. So what are the crops that are most compatible, or the land that's most compatible with renewable energy? So what we want to do is to engage somebody to actually critique that work that's being undertaken.
Okay, does that answer your question, councillor Spinks?
I mean, I suppose the risk is that it will come back and not be the answer. I don't know. There's a risk there, but anyway, that's so fair and reasonable and sure. Second question is, what is the cost of the consultant going to be? If not exact figures, is there an estimate of what it's going to cost?
We would have to take that on notice and come back and provide a response. We don't have those figures at this point in time. We haven't put out for an expression of interest to undertake that process.
Super fair. So we're just going to approve an amount. And when would the consultation happen?
Well, there's, I mean, I can probably answer that. There's timing that aligns with the Vic Grid consultation timeline, so we would have to meet that as a minimum. Acknowledging that a submission can be made from us at any time, but we won't make a submission on behalf of community until we engage and share with what's being proposed. So, correct?
You do have to work
Yeah.
within the timeframe that
Yeah.
Grid have prescribed, because they will have a cut-off time in terms of when the consultation needs to be completed by. So we would have to work within those timeframes that they're presenting.
Okay, thank you. I don't think I'm being unreasonable in asking any of these questions. These feel like things that a report would demand if we were putting in through a normal process. Definitely probably a concern that we don't have any kind of cost estimate for it. But look, I think that I don't really think it's necessary for us to take a position on this. This is me using my speaking time, by the way, if this is. It's obviously something that is of a concern to the Dookie residents. We're hearing that loud and clear. I think this fits into that classic, the state is trying to do something to provide new energy infrastructure. Greater Shepparton's part of that state. But if we, don't want it in our backyard and the ones next door don't want it in their backyard and then the ones next door don't want it in their backyard, it either doesn't happen at all or it goes above our head, and that's how this sort of ends up being. I don't think it's irrelevant that the minister has already taken away the power to approve a certain size of renewable energy project because local areas wouldn't get on board with them and it needed to be elevated. And, is that what we're seeing now? I don't know. I do recognise that the previous consultation they did not have the Dookie area as a part of it. I think that's a natural part of what consultation is, that they went out and they chatted and they found that where the area, west of Tatura wasn't feasible. So now they're proposing a new area. So they're about to go and do their own consultation again in the next few weeks, I believe. That's what we were told this morning. So I think we're preempting that process. And I also think it's a little bit interesting because there's no one's forcing, all they're trying to do is zone areas to be able to host these kind of projects. It is entirely up to the landowner themselves whether they want to host these projects. So it feels like we're kind of trying to tell the landowners what they can and can't do with their land.
Point of order, please, Mayor. Are you talking to the motion or against the motion, councillor Summer? Sorry.
She's speaking to it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's okay. When we go to the vote, we determine where it is. So
I'm just wanting councillor Akers to have a right of reply.
you won't on the two component.
You can be against if you want.
I don't know, it's all right. No, that's process.
These are just the thoughts of the motion in front of me. In that, I just think there's.
Keep going.
So I've had one try and interrupt because I'm not speaking correctly, one try and pull me up for time. I'm really appreciating this. I'll pull it up there. I don't know, ambivalent.
Very good. Thank you, councillor Singh. So just regarding time, that's managed by our governance team and will be appropriately notified of the timing. So I just ask councillors to just respect that process and allow the councillors that are speaking to go through that, and we'll be notified through that series. Okay, thank you, councillor Spinks. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Summer.
Thanks. Given this is an urgent motion and we only spoke to Vic Grid this morning, I understand the concerns about cost and scope, but I think it's unreasonable to expect those to come along with an urgent motion. I do think we need a position so that we can make a strong submission to state, and we can't do that without consulting with the public and actually examining what kind of land VicTrack want to use. I am cognizant that this will overlap with the state consultation, so I hope it doesn't dilute that process. And we need to make it very clear that this is a state initiative, not council, because there is that risk that people think possibly that we're the drivers if we go to consultation. But we need to make it perfectly clear that the intent is to reach a position so that we can advocate on the community's behalf, whatever that may be. So the report, the the independent consultant, that's interesting. It may come back that they think it's perfectly suitable land. So that could be a risk as well, but I'm willing to look at it because state generally do come down with a broad brush. They don't look at all the individual detail that we are across as local government. We're the ones who are closest to the people. We're the ones who care enough to engage a consultant to really scrutinise those areas and what state are trying to do. I'm not one to tell someone what, if they want to make money off their land with renewables, that's entirely up to them. I don't think I'd step in there. But we also heard that there'd have to be conduits between the renewable energy sites that may impact other land. It's a really nuanced, complicated scenario. So yeah, I do support the motion and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes back.
Thank you, councillor Summer. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Schubert.
I certainly would. Thank you, Mayor Sali. Look, I absolutely totally endorse the recruitment of a consultant, like getting VicGrid, you know, in terms of their consultative processes, like putting a fox in to look after the chickens, as far as I'm concerned. I think we need the independence of somebody in council that understands and meets the needs of the people that are going to be impacted by VicGrid's, I suppose, their unrelenting drive. And I'm extremely disappointed that we've only heard about this sort of officially today. So we're sort of in damage control. We have to look after our ratepayers, and it's Councillor Akers' award, and good on you, Councillor Akers, for picking up the mantle and running with it. So.
Good. Thank you, councillor Schubert. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Sali. Look, I think in terms of putting this one, it is urgent, and given the fact we, as been alluded to, we've only heard about it today, and I think in terms of that, it's very hard to ask then the council staff, what is the scope, what is the costings in regards to that. We've only just read out the motion. So it's only just
Point of
been...
clarification, sorry, councillor Brophy, to interrupt. I just need to, so is it like, are we talking about like $20,000 or $50,000 or $100,000? Like, are we really, we have no, we're just happy to just put whatever figure against this when it comes through? Like, everyone's sort of talking about it like, is there any kind of indication at all of where this is going to fall into as a cost?
We haven't, as I said before.
Answer is no.
Yeah, we haven't gone out for any expression of interest. I mean, we could give a guesstimate around a scope based on a similar scope of the project, but that would only be a guesstimate at this point in time, because we actually haven't done the work, because as we've said, today is the first time we've had this discussion.
I understand, but like, that's an important detail.
Yeah, I'm uncertain. I don't think that I can provide you with a figure, and that would actually have some rigour around that at this point in time.
I understand.
Director might have a copy.
I think it would be appropriate for us to put some figures on the table without understanding the work and the scope involved. And the councillors will clearly be informed as to what that figure looks like, and we would hope that there would be reasonable, approaches to be undertaking this work. It's not a sort of a blank check approach, although there's no specific within the motion. But as a collective group of councillors, we are wanting to progress the conversation with this, and I need to be clear around that you're aware of what it is, and that information will come back to councillors to give clear detail around the costs associated with it and the scope of what that looks like. It's not going to answer your question tonight because we're clearly not going to get it on the table, but it's not at all expenses approach, and we undertake these type of works in similar nature, and we can understand what it looks like from that perspective. So that's...
Point of clarification, if it comes back $100,000, which the majority would seem unreasonable, are we bound to accept whatever it is based on this motion?
I think the clarification that I'll seek from our executive is that before you go on embark the consultation, let us know what it is, and Councillor Summer, we can deal with this at an additional council meeting or the September OCM if we choose not to pursue a consultation report based on information that can come back. That's fine, we can do through that.
Wording doesn't lock us in.
We
do an open check.
No, I'm comfortable with the approach that executive will come back to us with clear detail as to what it looks like, and we can make the determination from there if we...
Okay.
Yeah. Clear? Thank you, Councillor Brophy.
Thank you. as I alluded to, it's really came to us at the 11th and a half hour, to be quite honest, and so therefore putting this together, if you had, coming at the 10th hour, it might have been a little bit of difference in the wording, and et cetera. A lot of the legal costs and that we're not aware of individually for when we go and ask different lawyers for different things, we get a report on those. Other consultancies, we get a report back on those as well. And I think I make sure that the council officers are very prudent in the way that they go about in terms of getting that. I feel confident in the past that they've done that. So in terms of going this obviously putting this motion up here, is that it's to go to the public and in bringing it in this platform to know that we are taking this very seriously, and that, we're wary. We understand the implications, particularly Dookie, but it's not only Dookie. If you look at the mapping, there is a slight part over the other side of the Midland ward. There's a still shadowed there, so that could have an impact there. But in all reality, we're talking about the landowner having the choice, and they do have the choice, unless they disagree. And if they disagree, then perhaps there's compulsory acquisition in terms of that. Ministerial intervention will override all of that. But they may want to sell, and they may want to be able to be part of that as well and get derive an income from that. In reality, we're not talking about wind turbines. I can't see that in the areas that they're talking about. There's not enough wind there. Hydro certainly wouldn't be. The main eastern channel is not strong enough to generate power in that sense. And then they've looked at different types of agriculture and where it would impact. We doubt very much that it would be in the orchards and in horticulture or in the dairy industry. So we are looking at the broad acre. So we're a bit more specific in what it is, and it is looking at solar, I'm sure, and battery charging and things like that. That's where it's going to be, and I'm sure alongside with what we're doing, that when it goes out to the public from VicGrid, that we will get back but both the general public, but also our specific independent consultant will come back and tell us what the field is out there as well. There's still a lot of questions to be there. I mean, we look at governments, we say that, particularly like the Australian government, and they say, well, we are the food bowl of Victoria and Australia, yet they want water buybacks and they take the water from here. Emergency Services Fund, we'll still take that out of there, and now we look at this as well. The public do get a little bit sick and tired of seeing this. We understand that we do need power security, but there are lots of other methods, and they may not even use our area. I'm very anxious to see what will actually come out of there. We need to be wary about it, but we also need to be comfortable with it when we've got the consultants report back as well.
Thanks, Councillor Brophy. We have a responsibility to respond and make some sort of public acknowledgement around what's taking place there. It is impossible for us as a council or me as mayor to give public comments surrounding a significant proposal that is obviously going to be imposed on our region unless we have some understanding as to what this looks like for our community. That is my priority, is to get an understanding as to what this looks like for our community. We literally did this with the water advocacy. It's the same process. The federal government undertook a water buyback policy. Yes, farmers and water holders do not have to sell. There's always a buyer, there's always people that can come in and undertake those type of acquisitions around what's happening. But unless we are informed and we can share that and engage community, this type of stuff cannot be presented in a way that it has been. The presentation that we received today, I have concerns about it. Obviously, the May draft report did not include this parcel of land, and over a period of a couple of months, it's now been taken from a different area and put in here like, oh, that'll do over there. That's unacceptable, and we need to get greater understanding as to what that means. We have a responsibility to protect our foundation. Our agriculture is what our foundation is here, and we must inform community as to what is happening. And the best way we can do that under the time that we have, that we cannot wait until the September council meeting. Yes, this is rushed. Yes, it is urgent, but it meets those requirements because of the timeline that we have associated to be able to deal with this executive are clear as to what this looks like and will present back to us around the money allocated. I don't suspect it will be in the vicinity of what councillor Summer has noted. There would be no good reasons to do that, but we are going to get some work done to understand what this means, not only now, but into the future. And it's clearly noted in there, potential benefits or consequences. But more importantly, we need to be engaging with VicGrid under a formal position. Otherwise, we cannot speak on behalf of community or as a council unless we have that understanding of where we sit in this space. This is important, and that's why it sits here, and I fully endorse, obviously, the position we're taking to engage community to determine what next steps look like. Nothing else, councillors, we will go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried. Councillors, item 17, close of meeting, which I will do at 5:04 PM. Thank you.